What's up, man? So you guys want to give it a shot?
Sure.
Two very easy multiple choice, you know,
Okay.
and they actually have to do with the orientation of water. So the salt in water. Hey, what's up, man?
What's up, man?
You want to give this a shot?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All right, there you go. There you go. So two very easy elementary level questions, and they have to do with the orientation of water. So you guys want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So two very easy questions. They're elementary level, multiple choice. So they have to do with the orientation of water. So when we have air and water in a water bottle like this and it's at rest, the water will always go to the bottom and push the air to the top, regardless of the orientation. You know, that's what always happens. Water always goes to the bottom and pushes air to the top. Since can we agree when water is contained and we have air and water, regardless of the orientation of the bottle, water will always go to the bottom and push the air to the top.
Yeah.
You know, that's a simple fact, you know. Anybody can understand that. So let me get these out. Since we understand that simple fact about water, you know, that it basically has one orientation when it's at rest, which one of these two, I'm showing them to you obviously, is not in the correct orientation? Which water bottle is not in the correct orientation?
Okay, so the water is like blue, like the...
Yeah, the water's
one?
blue actually, yeah. I painted it
Just
with
making
food
sure.
coloring. Yeah, no, that's a good question, yeah, to make sure, yeah. I painted it with food coloring. I even added a floating apple there on the surface, you know, to make it easier, you know. Which one of these two water bottles is not in the correct orientation?
Two.
You got it.
Yeah.
What would you say number two? Just to prove the point, I guess.
Well, I mean, because water just doesn't float to the top.
Exactly.
Right?
You got it, yeah. So I actually took it like this. Yeah, it's pretty common sense. Very easy. A child can understand it, right? Which one is not in the correct orientation?
This one.
Okay, yeah, you got it. That was fast. You guys agree?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you guys say this one?
Because the water's up.
Exactly. So I took it like this.
Yeah.
You guys got it. That's pretty easy, yeah. So which one is not in the correct orientation?
Okay, this one, from our angle, it looks like it's in the correct orientation,
Okay.
but this could be flipped. Can I just, like, flip
Yeah,
it over?
definitely.
Okay.
I mean, since we understand that water always goes to the bottom, regardless of orientation.
Yeah, but you could be holding it up in this one. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Because like
Yeah.
if you're holding it up, then obviously like the water's gonna be at the bottom, the air's gonna be on top, and the floating in this one actually looks a bit more natural. So this one you're holding it from the, I think it's number two.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Because
Because
I took it like this.
Yeah, because the floating in this one just doesn't like look like, I feel like, you know, this one looks more natural than the floating in
Sure,
this.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's just the camera's a little bit under, so you're seeing under the apple a
Yeah,
little bit
that-
more.
that could be it too,
That's the only
yeah.
reason. But yeah, you got it. I took this one like this.
Yeah.
So showing it like this will be in the incorrect orientation because
Yeah,
water
yeah.
doesn't stick to the top of bottles. You know, That doesn't happen. So you guys got it. Yeah.
You carried me. I was just like, it's one of those.
No, okay. So this next one again has to do with water as well. Water always finds its level. I don't know if you ever heard of that. So I could tilt the bottle in any orientation, right? But water always, you know, forms a level surface, right?
Yeah.
What could be another word for level?
Level.
This is,
I'm-
trying to figure it out. Like equilibrium.
Okay, that's a good one. But horizontal will be the number, like the one-word definition. Because you could have a straight line that's on a slope, but it's not level. It has to be a horizontal straight line. You know, that's what level means. It has to do with orientation, right? So the second one's even easier, so you guys will get it. So it has to do with water being level. So water always finds its level, regardless of the orientation. So I could tilt the bottle, but water always, you know, forms a level surface. What could be another word for level?
Balance.
Balance is a good one. So the one-word definition will be horizontal, because we could have a straight line, but on a slope, it's not level. It has to be a horizontal straight line. You know, that's what level means. So since the other one's even easier, another thing about water is that it always finds its level, especially when at rest, right? Because we could tilt the bottle, but the water always levels out.
Yeah.
Yeah. What could be another word for level?
I'm trying to think. It could be like maintained.
Okay. Some people say equal.
Yeah.
Or the one-word definition will be horizontal.
Yeah.
Because we could have a straight line, but if it's at a slope, it's not level. It has to be a horizontal straight line. You know?
Yeah.
So it has to do with orientation again.
Yeah.
Level. So since we understand the effect about water too, that it always finds its level, especially when at rest, which one of these two represents the level as we know it, A or B, when it comes to the water?
This is like going into the ocean?
Like a giant lake, for example.
Giant lake?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a body of water that's at rest, basically. Which one represents level as we
Okay,
know
and
it?
this is Okay, it's like the water level, just like the
Yeah,
surface
water.
of the water.
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
like I'm gonna say A.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the obvious one, right?
I was like, wait. I was like, is this a trick question?
Yeah,
or what?
Which one of these two represents water level as we know it? A or B?
B.
I mean, we're looking at the water. Which one
Oh.
represents level?
A.
A, right?
Yeah.
That's the obvious one.
Yeah.
No,
Go
yeah.
for it,
So,
go for it.
so yeah. Which one of these two represents level as we know it when we're looking at the water? Okay, that's good. Yeah. You guys agree, right? So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you guys, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this one. You guys want to know how we were tricked? Do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
Yeah.
Right, in outer space, right? So NASA, it's not a trick question, but I will tell you this: over 95% of the population have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this one.
Yeah.
Because it's measurable, testable, and repeatable. You want to know how we were tricked?
How?
Do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
Yeah.
Right? So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth. So they need to know the radius of orbit if they're supposedly going around it. So they need to know the radius of the Earth. So they do tell us it's 3,159 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile. So in that first mile, there's an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches. And by the third mile, is 6 feet. So that curvature has to increase because it's a curve that they're claiming, not a slope. So if we actually went out to a giant lake to measure for this curvature, they're telling us that the water's bending 6 feet in 3 miles, but we know that the water's going to be parallel to anything, you know, horizontal above it.
Yeah.
You know, and then water shows us that. So this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe of physical measurement of the Earth, water in specific, right? So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this, and water shows us that, right?
Yeah.
You want to know how we were tricked?
Yeah.
Do you believe the Earth is a ball?
Yeah.
Right? So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit, so they need to know the radius of the Earth if they're supposedly going around it. So they do tell us the radius is 3,159 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile it increases. So in the first mile, there's an 8-inch drop, second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. So if we went out to a giant lake to physically measure for this curvature, that, you know, a giant lake that was miles across, the water's going to show us that it's going to be parallel or horizontal, you know, to anything above it, especially when it's at rest.
Yeah.
But they're trying to tell us that that lake is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and increasing more and more. So in 10 miles, it'd be 66 feet, you know. So this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe of physical measurement of the Earth, water in specific. So in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth if they're supposedly going around it. So they do tell us the radius is 3,959 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile has to increase because they're saying it's a curve, not a slope. So in the first mile, there's an 8-inch drop, second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. So if we went out to a giant lake that was miles across and physically measure for this curvature, the surface of that lake is going to show us that it's going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, but they're trying to tell us that that lake is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and 66 feet in 10 miles. So it just keeps increasing, right? So this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe of physical measurement of the Earth, water in specific, right? So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, what would be the #1 proof that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
Because it's round.
But why does it make? Why do you believe that? But why is it round exactly?
Like all the pictures and stuff. Like,
Okay, pictures.
I don't understand why they would lie.
Okay, that's a separate question. But you say pictures. Do you guys have anything else?
Like, say if you look straight, you can see like kind of.
Okay, so basically because we have a limit of perspective, you think that's the curve of the Earth, basically. Okay, so we'll talk about pictures first. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, what would be the #1 proof that convinces you or makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
I don't know. I mean, I guess kind of just what I grew up learning.
Okay, that's pretty honest.
Yeah,
That's pretty honest. So it's just what you were told, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people would say images. That's like the #1 proof for most people, right? They'll say photographs, but in reality, they're actually images.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the difference. Image is actually they admit that they're images because they're made on a computer. So it's a CGI basically, a computer-generated image.
Yeah.
That's what an image is. They're
Yeah.
usually made on a computer. So a photograph of the Earth from outer space doesn't exist for 2 reasons. For 2 simple reasons. One, obviously water doesn't bend, so the Earth is not a ball. And 2.
Yeah.
Outer space as an environment that exists, like a negative pressure with other other balls, that doesn't exist. All of that is just imaginary. So anything you're seeing from outer space that, like, it's basically CGI, other than unless you're just seeing lights in the sky, like we see with the naked eye. But if I was to ask you respectfully, what would be the #1 proof that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
Well, I just mean. That's a really good question.
No,
I've
yeah.
been pondering about that for a while.
Okay, that's a good thing. So you've heard of this topic before?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Well, I just seen this experiment one time where people try to like put a camera up really high,
Okay.
like 6 feet over their head or something, and like try to see if it comes out the other side, and then that would
Okay.
prove that the Earth isn't flat.
So apparent observations are one of the psyops that a lot of people are doing. Again, I'm not saying that all channels that are doing this are doing it deliberately, but they're definitely focusing on apparent measurements of objects and the distance is a red herring, because visually looking at something doesn't tell you nothing about the physical measurements of it. For example, if I told you to measure that tree just by looking at it, that's impossible. You know, in order to measure something, you need to physically be able to access it in 3 dimensions, right?
Yeah.
And so again, a physical measurement like this will be the number one proof. But yeah, visual observations, I would say those are kind of red herrings. They're false arguments. You know, again, they're just kind of there to like so that you have inconclusive, you know, answers basically. But again, understanding how water behaves, again, it always collapses because it can't support itself. This was going to prove that the Earth is not a globe, right?
All right.
The pictures from of the Earth from outer space, by the way, I have them right here. I could show you. They actually admit they're not photographs; they're actually images. And the reason why they call them images is because they're made in a computer. So they're actually CGI. So they're computer generated images. So a real photograph from outer space of the Earth doesn't exist. So and there's 2 simple reasons why. One, because obviously water shows us that the Earth is not a ball. And 2, an idea of outer space being a physical environment we can actually travel to doesn't exist. So outer space as an environment that we can go to, it doesn't exist. So that's just an idea. It's just a theory. So nobody knows what's outside of the Earth. That's the point. So the Earth is a contained system. You know, that's why we have air pressure. You know how you're able to breathe? You expand your lungs and the air just rushes in. It's because the air's trying to escape. So that's what air pressure is. Another thing about air pressure is that in order for air to have pressure, there needs to be something pressing up against it, right? So it's the Earth that's pressing up against the air that makes helium balloons go up, for example, because it's the air pushing up against the helium. So when people say that gravity pulls objects towards the ground, it's actually the opposite. It's the Earth that's in constant motion that comes to the object. The object doesn't go to the ground. It's the ground that comes up to the object. So that's the reality. You know. So I don't know if you knew gravity as a pulling force is just a theory. So then the reason why it's a theory, again, because there's nothing pushing the water bottle towards the ground or anything that you drop, basically. It's only an apparent drop. You know, it looks like it falls because we're moving with the Earth as well. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, let me ask you guys this. Do you think there's a possibility that we have been lied to about the shape of the Earth? Or are you guys 100% convinced that it's a globe?
No, I'm convinced that it's a globe.
I'm pretty convinced.
So what convinces you then, if I may ask?
I mean, just
I mean, because you just said that you were just told that, right? And that's what you grew up believing.
yeah, but then that's also what like all the top physicists believe too. Like from what I've seen, like all the top physicists and scientists, like not really any of them believe that it's flat.
Okay.
And, like,
Well, I wouldn't say flat because flat has nothing to do with orientation,
or
and
they
Earth has
believe that
orientation.
It's a globe. My bad.
Yeah, the Earth has orientation.
Yeah.
and-
Also, just considering that the other planets in the solar system are round, so
You guys want to give this a read
kind
real
of
quick?
assuming that
Interested in the topic?
why would we be of a super different orientation? We would probably be at that if that's how planets are.
That's the thing. What I'm saying is when it comes to looking at the sky and making up stories about the sky to basically back up another theory, so basically using theories to back up theories is not very logical, right? So if we're making claims about what water is doing in specific, which is bending, because that you need water to bend in order to make a ball, right? Then physically measuring water will be the number one experiment, in my opinion, to prove or debunk. the claim.
I think the main thing that like I would have against the concept of the Earth like not being like I'll just say like the Earth being flat is just
level. Again, flat has nothing to do with orientation, but
yeah, like it's just like how like physics wouldn't really be the same without it. Like so much of physics is like reliant on the fact of just like just like gravitational orbit and like like
Okay,
So you think the Earth is flat?
Well, I wouldn't say flat because again, flat has nothing to do with orientation. Because again, I could have this paper is flat, right? But if I have it like this, it's not level. So the Earth is level. Because because the Earth has orientation, and in order for something to have orientation, it needs to have motion. So the Earth is in constant motion. So I don't know if you heard people claim that gravity is a force, right? But gravity as a pulling force that accelerates objects towards the ground doesn't exist because a force it has to do with an object that's in motion. So something has to press on something to make something else move. So the Earth being in motion is the force that makes this appear to go down. But it's not this that goes down; it's the Earth that comes up to meet it. So again, that's the real force, the push.
I feel like the real force would be pull because gravity works as like the bigger the object is, like the planet, right?
Right.
Jupiter. Like the bigger the planet, the harder the gravity pulls. So,
Right.
Like, I'm just confused on that. And also, if you think the Earth is level,
Yeah.
And you brought up the argument about the tree earlier. Why don't we just measure the earth?
Yeah, we could physically measure the surface of water, and water is always perpendicular to the vertical. That's another thing. I don't know if you know what a plumb line is. It's when you have a weight tied to a string. So that basically makes a vertical line, right? A string. So that shows the vector, right? But so water is always perpendicular to that because I don't know if you knew, all of those verticals, the plumb lines, are all considered parallel to each other regardless of the distance. So on a globe, downward vectors couldn't be parallel to each other because they're all at different angles towards the center on a globe. But in reality, verticals, plumb lines, are always parallel regardless of distance because they're perpendicular to the horizontal of water, or the levelness of water, right? So physics shows us that the Earth is not a globe. It's impossible basically. So if I was to ask you guys, is there a possibility that we have been lied to about the nature of the Earth, or are you guys 100% convinced that it's not?
Lying 100%.
You guys are 100%. So what convinces you besides pictures? Because obviously they admit they're cartoons.
I think it's just a picture. I feel like
Hills.
So if I showed you guys a picture of me flying, would that be enough to convince you that I can fly?
That's true. No, that's true.
No? What if I showed you a video of me flying?
Maybe.
Then you guys would believe I could fly?
No, I wouldn't even. I wouldn't believe that.
What about if I could walk on water? If I showed you a picture? No? What about walking through walls? No. What? See, all of those claims defy physics, right? So that doesn't exist, right? Water bending, the surface of water bending, especially when it's at rest, defies physics as well. So these images defy physics. So it's no different than me showing you a picture of me flying and expecting you to believe me. But most people do believe this, and the reason why is because we're taught this lie when we're so young, like when we're 5 years old. That's when they first show us the globe. And then it's just propaganda after that, the news, movies with the universal globe, all that CGI, everything about outer space is made up. Nobody knows what's outside of it. You know what I'm saying?
What do you believe?
Well, I don't have beliefs. I just either I know something or I don't. So I know that this place was created because that's the first law of thermodynamics. It says that something cannot come from nothing, basically. So again, the Big Bang says that we came from nothing. Again, anybody trying to tell you how this place was created, like a creation story, is just a religion. And the heliocentric model, the ball Earth, they do have a creation story with the Big Bang and evolution. But that's no different than any other religion trying to tell you what this place is. The fact is nobody knows. But it was created somehow. I don't know how though. So I don't have beliefs, like you say, yeah. So I know the Earth is in constant motion. I know that it's a level plane. Because it's in constant motion, it has orientation. And what created it, what's outside of it, that's unknown. We know what else is unknown? The dimensions of the Earth. So we don't even know what the Earth looks like the true layout of it. So that's unknown. I would like to know, so I would like to explore. So maybe you guys, when you guys get older, maybe we can actually explore this place and find out what it is, But do you have any questions for me about this topic before you guys go?
Like that.
Okay, when you're talking about gravity, gravity is just a theory, right? Like so let me ask you this: what is gravity? If I was to ask you, what is gravity? When you use gravity,
gravity is a natural force that basically not like in the Earth, like let's say 10 meters per second. It's just like natural downwards force that pushes on something.
Okay, when you say force, before we go to the next one, what is a force?
A force is basically it's pushing a mass at a mass at a certain acceleration.
I'm glad you used the word push because gravity claims to be a pulling force, which will be something invisible accelerating an object down without any pressure. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you knew, when you have holes in a bottle, water squirts out, right? Because there's pressure, right?
Yeah.
That's because the Earth is in constant motion. When you release the bottle, the water doesn't squirt out of the holes anymore because there's no pressure when it's in free fall. Because it's considered a free body. So I don't know if you knew, they don't claim gravity is a force anymore. They claim it's the warping and bending of space-time. Because physics shows that objects don't go towards the ground, it's the ground that comes up towards the object. So that's the reality. The Earth is in constant motion because, again, in order for something to have orientation, you need to have motion.
Yeah,
so the Earth is a level plane that's in constant motion.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good way to look at it. But I don't think that I don't see how gravity would be a theory because no matter what instance,
the pulling force of gravity is a theory. The motion of the Earth is provable, scientific. Yeah, it's a pushing force, not a pulling force. So you understand how motion works. Something needs to press something else in order to have any motion. That's how an engine works. That's how everything works that has motion. Something needs to press on it to have motion. So when an object, so just real quick before you go, have you heard of Euclidean plane geometry? So it's the geometry that's assumed to create everything we see, from buildings to railroads to bridges. So basically all the blueprints that engineers use don't take account of Earth's curvature. They're all plums and levels. So all blueprints are horizontals, basically.
I mean, we wouldn't have to take in account the curvature from how big the Earth is, right?
Well, again, it's 8 inches per mile squared based on the radius that they're telling us. So it's not that big like we actually think, because again, it's only 3,000, under 4,000 miles in the radius. You know, again, so that curvature should be measurable after the first mile. You know, and it increases every more after that. You know.
Okay.
So yeah, so there's a reason they don't tell us the curvature per mile. They only tell us the radius, because once we start putting this into perspective, the curvature per mile, it starts to look ridiculous. You know, it doesn't make any sense basically.
Okay.
So yeah, so here's my. Let me ask you before you go, if it was true that we were being lied to, right, about on a mass scale, would this be something important to know?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Could you think of something that's more important, or a bigger lie, in other words, than the whole lie of the shape of the earth and our existence? What was that?
That's how we see things.
Exactly. No, yeah. But I would say this is the biggest lie, though. There's no other lie if this was true, right? So, yeah. By the way, this is the #1 censored topic online. By the way, so the way they're censoring it is by ridiculing it. So they just hand wave dismissing. They have these experts just ridiculing, and basically just talk about stories about the sky. Exactly. They would avoid physics of how water behaves, for example. They're never going to talk about a physical measurement of water. What they're going to do is being released. I don't know if you knew accelerometers, like your phone. You have an accelerometer. You could download an app, and basically it detects acceleration in any direction you move it, up, left, down, any direction you move it.
Yeah.
When it's in free fall, it detects 0 acceleration. Again, because there's no force just acting on it. It's considered a free body. That's why it's called free fall. So
Yeah.
they decelerate. Objects decelerate in free fall. They don't. There's no force pushing them down, basically, or pulling them.
Yeah.
It's the Earth that comes in contact with it again.
That makes
And
sense.
it does make sense. 100%. So I mean, do you guys have any like questions? About this
Not
topic?
really, no.
No. I mean, if you guys want to give this a look, these are the 6 main proofs. I mean, you guys could take it. And that's my channel. I mean, you guys could give it a look. Maybe you guys could see
Okay.
yourselves right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad you guys stopped, and thanks for the chat.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you guys take care, man.
What's
All right. And I talk about is just visual observation, like you were talking about the limit of perspective. So, for example, if I hold this water bottle and I start moving away, it's only so far before it just becomes before you can't see it anymore, right? Everything gets smaller at a distance, right? So the horizon is basically just the limit of perspective. It's just how far we can see. That's the horizon. So it has nothing to do with curvature. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. Before you guys go, if you guys don't have any other questions, here's my channel. You guys could check it out. Here, I have another one. You guys could probably take. Because I'm sure you guys don't live together, right?
No.
Right. You guys are kind of young still.
Yeah, we're in high school.
Oh, you guys are in high school? You guys are visiting?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yeah, so here, you guys could take this. Here, how many? 2 more? All right. And you guys could check it out. I have conversations at other universities as well with other students. And here, you can have one too. Take it. And then, check out my channel. You guys will probably see yourselves as well. Right there. Yeah. So thanks for the chat. All right, you guys take care.
It was nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Hey, my channel, and there's 6 main proofs in there that you could give it a look.
For sure.
And yeah,
All right, well, I get to keep this or I
you get to keep
okay.
it. And then thanks for the
All right.
chat, man.
All right, for sure,
Yeah,
man.
you take care.
You too.
Yeah.